saw some unreal hitting in the first game, in the afternoon game in Hyderabad, and in the context of a Chennai pitch, the score that had been put on by the Chennai Super Kings is pretty unreal as well. This is MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live, and just to put in context, the 175 for 5 in 20 overs, don't look at that scorecard in isolation. At the end of the 17th over, Rajasthan Royals wouldn't be too unhappy. They were 115 for 4. And again, talking about our MPL Super Couch predictions, all three of us were well in it. It hadn't even entered the window, which started at 120. Guess what? It entered the window and like a good cross-ventilation went out the other side as they scored 175. That was pretty insane. We moved from this chair to Michael Vaughan's chair to Joy's chair, and now we've sent the chair back for Thala to sit on very comfortably in Chennai. That was an absolutely unreal performance from MS Dhoni, the veteran. Again, the context, the surface, the bowling attack, everything, he's a complete genius, isn't he?
Complete genius, and just the way, again, he structures his innings. So Raina took the early risks, he waited for Raina to go for it, then Bravo did a bit, and then he decided to sort of step on the gas. He chose the bowlers, he started with Unadkat very early, he started intimidating him, walking down the pitch to him, and he just timed it so beautifully. I mean, the way he made his runs is even more spectacular. It wasn't that from ball one he was hitting it out of the park.
Oh, I think he's probably the best poker player that I've ever seen, because when he first played international cricket and in the IPLs back in the day, he generally used to go all in. So you knew as MS Dhoni walked out to bat, he was all in. He was just going to try and hit the ball to all parts. The way that he plays the game these days is, as an opposing team, you've no idea when he's going to go, and he just sits and he bluffs. And then all of a sudden he gets towards the end, once, as you said, the Rainas and the Bravos had taken big risks, and he's still got all the options to clear the road. That last over is a perfect example. The over before Jofra Archer, he thought at the end of that over, no point in taking a massive risk against Jofra Archer, because I know I've got Unadkat at the end. I've got 6 balls that I can climb into him, hit him for a few sixes and get this target up to what looks a huge score on that kind of wicket. It's a genius innings, a perfect example for all people that play T20 cricket, that if you lose early wickets, it's not always the way just to go crash bang wallop to try and get yourself back in the game. It's just by steady progress, knowing that you've got the power to unleash at the end.
It's the first time I've heard that comparison, that metaphor used about him, but I think it's very accurate, because add to that his face, the poker face that we call it, and that's what Captain Cool comes with bat in hand.
Absolutely. And the other interesting thing is it wasn't a bad bowling effort. Even in the 19th, when you think that, okay, now I'm settled, he still didn't want to take a risk of Jofra Archer. He said, this is not the ball I want to take a chance of. He still held back. So he was smart enough. Even though he's timing the ball, he's probably seeing it like a football out there. He said, this guy's not worth the risk. Not when I have 6 balls left. And that's really a class, really smart act out there. And he still got to 175. He just smashed it in the end.
Yeah, if we have a look at the bowling figures for the Rajasthan Royals, before we come to the inning progression which told a story, I think that also tells you that you're allowed to respect a bowler. Jofra Archer is going to be the key for the attack. 4 overs, 2 for 17, well bowled, pat him on the back, and everybody else goes.
No, here's, again, there's an issue out here, and this is a very serious issue for Rajasthan. They need to look at it, saying, you had 2 frontline spinners. Shreyas Gopal and Gautam were your 2 frontline spinners. They bowled just 5 of their 8 overs. There's something wrong out there. Either they got their calculations wrong, or they took them off too early. When Jaydev Unadkat has gone for 54 in 4, your top spinners, and they haven't done that badly. Shreyas Gopal has given just 23 of 3. He's given 2 of 13. So something there has gone wrong in their calculations of how they chose to play the game. I think they missed a trick there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different wicket to what we saw in the first game, but to only use 5 overs of spin, a quarter of the 20 in spin is a mistake by Ajinkya Rihani. Whether they were threatened and felt that MS Dhoni might climb into the spinners, and I think over the last 2 years it's been proven that MS Dhoni plays well against all types of bowlers, and you've just got to try and adapt. You've got to try and assess the conditions. Ajinkya tonight felt that it was the conditions for the seamers. They got a bit of bounce with that new ball, but when you look at those spinners' figures and the economy rates, he'll know in the dressing room now, well, I hope he's not thinking about it now, he should be getting his pads on, but later on when he's got a chance to think about what he's just done as a captain out in the middle, he probably got that one wrong.
Yeah, let's just quickly have a look at the innings progression, because we've briefly mentioned the numbers 60 in the last 3, over 70 in the last 5, after being 29 inside that power play, at which time, we were thinking, okay, is 130, 140 going to be enough? That's probably what they've thought about. Obviously, they had other plans, and you could see this was like a good old-fashioned 50-over effort translated into a T20 game.
Those are staggering figures. Those are absolutely staggering figures, Michael.
Well, I think when the Chennai Super Kings 29 for 3 and Dhoni works out there in the power play, I reckon he got together with Suresh Raina and thought, look, let's try and get to 120, 130. You know, we're an experienced team. We've got plenty of bowling options. We know that we can almost outfox any team with our nous, with our body language out in the middle. Let's just get to 120, 130. Let's make sure we don't get bowled out for 90. And that looked to me like the target they were going for, 130, just get in the game. But they know that they've got the power and they know they've got the intimidation factor over the opposing sides, that if they get to that platform towards the end, MS Dhoni for years has been hitting the last 2 or 3 overs for 20s, 18 20s, to get their targets up to what looks like a target that's going to be very, very difficult for Rajasthan Royals to chase.
For a couple of reasons. A, it's a team who haven't been winning, and B, obviously you're up against a target like this, which in their minds at that stage, we are talking about it, I'm sure they would have been thinking at the 10, 12 over mark, yeah, we can keep them to 130, 140.
Yeah, it's dispiriting for them just to see that target move away continuously, and they must be recalibrating, the coaches are recalibrating, they're saying, okay, this is 130, 135, 150. For it to go to 175 and the most important thing is that T20 is a game of momentum. You know, in test match cricket or one-day cricket, even 50-over cricket, you have a better chance of sort of catching up with the odds. Here, the momentum swings one way. It's really difficult to get it back really quickly.
Just to stop you there, I just reminded again that momentum is...
Sorry, momentum is a taboo word. Sorry.
No momentum. Now, remember, the one thing that I would say to teams playing against MS Dhoni now, and that's in the IPL and going through to the World Cup, is that consistently now he's taking more time. So if I'm playing against MS Dhoni, I would try and get him out early. So I'd probably try and force the field onto him. Maybe have a couple of catches, try and bring the field in and say to MS Dhoni, go on, try and hit over the top. Because from what I've seen over the last year or so, he likes to knock it around. He likes to be that rock in the middle, the kind of old school knock it into the gap style player. And then he goes at the end. You know, I'd try and force MS Dhoni to go earlier, to try and get him to play a big shot by, you know, bringing a field up, get it to hit over the top, and it might force the error to getting him out. Because for what I'm seeing in India and what I'm seeing in the IPL, if you allow him to get set and allow him to occupy the crease for a period of time, he just gets used to conditions, he gets used to the pace, and then he's going to destroy you at the end. So you've got to force him.
He did get out once. It's just the problem is even the stumps respect MS Dhoni.
Yeah, the ball just went there, hit it, and then very politely said, I'm sorry, it's Dhoni, right? Let me just quietly go back and sort of roll back to its place. The other interesting thing is, look back at Jaydev Unadkat's career. When has he had his greatest success? Bowling for Rising Pune, okay, where the captain was a certain MS Dhoni who said, look, nobody's used you particularly well. Let me show you how. And so he got 18 wickets in that year. Who was he bowling for? He was bowling for MS Dhoni. MS Dhoni probably knows every trick that Jaydev
and the big thing for MS Dhoni now, he's just batted on that pitch for, 15 overs? As a captain behind the stumps, he knows exactly what the hardest balls are to hit. He knows exactly which angles to try and create for the batsman. He knows the bigger side of the ground, and he knows all the deliveries, and he'll be into the bowlers there saying, look, that's the hardest ball to hit on this surface. And he'll be talking to all his bowlers. He's seen behind the stumps moving all the fielders, every ball. That's why he's got such an advantage, because he bats so long on these wickets. Once it comes to time in the field, he knows all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, he was. Was he actually captain at that time, or was that the time when he was behind the stumps and Steve Smith was the captain?
No, he was. I think he was. Yeah, he was captain. He was captain for a while, and then I think he gave up. But he was. But behind
still,
the stumps.
He was behind the stumps, one way or the other. So you know that he's having enough of an influence.
And Jaydev, in fact, I remember a couple of interviews. We spoke about working with Dhoni and understanding his own talents better and what he needed to do. Because I think he said I was a tearaway. I tried to really bowl it fast, and Dhoni taught me how to use the slower one. And fascinating, how it all comes back.
Now, the big factor that we've talked about, the possibility of that 175, maybe, you can adjust it to about a 150, because we think there's dew out there, and Jofra Archer's confirmed it. He said in the last 8 or 9 overs, the ball was almost slipping out. We saw that with that one waist-high free hit. So that could be...
Well, it gives Rajasthan a great chance then. And if you actually look at the top order of Rajasthan, you've got Jos Buttler, got a 50 in the first game, failed in the second. You've got Ajinkya Rahane, really good 50 in the second game. You've got Sanju Samson with a century in the last game. Steve Smith's not really had a knock yet. Ben Stokes is such a dangerous player. So they've got plenty of skill and power to be able to chase this down. And if the dew does come into play, and even more so than we saw in those last few overs, Rajasthan Royals could certainly chase down this target.
And just to add to that, Michael, if you look at the right column, the likes of Shreyas Gopal, Krishnappa Gautam and Jofra Archer can all bat.
All bat.
Plenty of power.
And we haven't seen Rahul Tripathi yet. We know how destructive he can be.
Yeah, if the ball is skidding on and it's the spinners are not really getting purchased. It's not going to be an easy pitch to bowl on, and perhaps that's one of the reasons why the spinners have not, they've bowled 5 and then they said there's too much due, don't bring the spinners back. Maybe that's one reason, that is the only logical reason why maybe he didn't bring the spinners back.
So which side of the fence do you lean on, gentlemen? Because I know we didn't take a prediction in the previous game, but given that we're all sitting on very bland couches at this time, maybe we can bring the MPL Super Couch into the equation for our final show of the day. What it'll mean is we need to first figure out who's winning, who's losing, and then a margin.
Look, I'm just going to go for it since I'm in a good mood and there's a lot of due. I'm going to go for a Rajasthan win in 19.
Rajasthan winning. I'm going to go for Rajasthan, but I think it's going to be with 2 balls to spare.
Oh, well, it'll be a little boring if I also get onto that Rajasthan bandwagon, much as I like the colour pink. So just to play devil's advocate, I'm just going to go the other side and go for the yellow team. Rajasthan will score. They'll get close, but 15 runs is what I'm saying. 15 runs behind that total. So around 160 is what they'll get, is what I'm saying. Just trying to be different here. But yeah, heart of hearts, I actually believe that they should be favourites if what Jofra Archer said about the due is true. We're quite far away from it as well. We'll get a good idea of where we stand at the 10 over mark. We'll of course analyse that with Cricbuzz Combox and be back to wrap up a Super Sunday that's been plenty of action seen on MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live at the end of the day.